That was bad.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Life Strats podcast here on OCDA. I'm your host, Dark8A, and today I am joined by Ace Nightshade and King the First.
Hello.
Hi.
Alrighty then, off to a great start.
Oh,
So,
you wanted more? Oh, hello. How are you today? I'm fine.
nice to have you.
Thank you.
So, essentially, this is a podcast where we talk about games, but not limited to it. This is a thing that OCDA has been wanting to do for some time now, and it's about damn time we get around to it. So, you know, before we get into anything, let's just start off by saying that this first episode is gonna be more about what we do, what about like more about us, and then we'll get into actual topic of sorts. But just to like start, um, we'll start off with you, King. Um, Give us a little bit of background and why you're so proficient in gaming. Seth?
Hello. King. Did he die?
You might have.
I'm
Oh.
not dead, I swear. Hold on.
First episode and we already lost a member. Oh no.
Am I here? Can
Yeah,
you guys
you're.
hear
Yes.
me?
Now
Yeah.
you are.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't dead. My microphone wasn't muted. I think it just like wasn't plugged in all the way.
Mm.
Okay.
So he died
Um,
momentarily.
I momentarily died. I've been playing games since I was like 5 years old or something like that, and my specialty, like the games that I prefer to play, are puzzle, strategy, and platformer games. So, if you guys have any questions about those, I'm your guy. Favorite game of all time? Shadow of the Colossus, hands down.
All right. Ace, how about yourself?
Um,
Why are you so proficient in the art of video game?
Probably because I have no life and that's about all I do outside of work. But I've been playing since I was in elementary, so somewhere around there. Um, and then I've always just like puzzles, so a lot of the games I play a lot of like RPG ones because I like getting into the game and immersing myself in. And then I'm a really big fan of taking and like also having like puzzles within the games. So like there being a decent story, but also being like it's not straightforward and easy. So, but I'll also do the occasional first-person shooter and stuff like that. So, actually, I do more third-person shooters now that I think about it. But my favorite game would probably be the most recent Tomb Raider trilogy. So that's technically games. So
No, I haven't played those. Are they really
they're
good?
really fun. My favorite out of the three would be probably the second one, and that's because there's like a little bit more when it comes to weapons in regards. They have in the third one and the first one, it's a lot of older weapons that you're using, but like the second one, I believe, is the only one where you actually get a compound bow, which does the most damage out of like all of them. And that one
Hmm.
also has like specialty weapons that give you additional stats, and there's less of those within the new game. So, but they also have a multiplayer version of it that I've been wanting to try out, but no one else has the game.
Then
So
buy someone else the game.
it's like $50.
That sounds like a personal
Hey,
problem.
hey, I bought someone else Red Dead Redemption 2 because I wanted them to play.
You are aware if I'm buying anyone this game, I'm buying you the game Dark, and you're playing with me.
Yeah, I am aware.
Ooh,
That's why I'm telling you buy it.
you just walk yourself
That'll be
inside.
your Christmas present.
I
All
guess.
right, what about you? What about you, Dark? What makes you so proficient in the art of gaming?
Yeah.
So, um, just like you, King, I've been gaming since like I was 5 years old. And ever since then, I sort of just picked it up as a hobby, and then it was not a hobby; it was an addiction.
Let's admit we're all addicted at this point.
Probably. Um, I just it was a nice way to like just relax and then get mad and then relax again because that's what games are.
Yeah, doing a save in Skyrim and then killing the entire village is fun.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
see that's where
stimulating.
that's what the relax part comes in. Yeah,
Let's be honest, we all did it at some point.
you're not wrong. Some are proud to admit it. I'm not.
Hey, I'm not addicted in gaming though. I can quit
Oh,
whenever I
crap.
want.
That's what we all say.
We all say that. And then you pick up a game within a couple days.
Yeah, I know. I just bought the new Star Wars game. And
You're even
that's
worse
gonna-
than us! I haven't bought a game
That's-
recently.
That's gonna be my whole life for the next like 2 weeks,
Other than this podcast.
maybe.
So, in terms of games that I enjoy, it tends to be more RPG and strategy. It's just I find it very relaxing, outsmarting someone and then feeling great that I outsmarted someone.
So, in terms of strategy, you're talking stuff about like Civ, something like Civ 5, right?
Yeah, I absolutely enjoy Civ 5. Well, I enjoy Civ in general, even the board game, even though the board game takes forever to play.
It takes forever to set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I've only recently gotten into it, but tabletop RPGs, thanks to King over here who allowed me to experience what D&D was firsthand and then absolutely get mad at me.
We derailed his campaign in one session.
It was horrible. It was horrible. I had everything planned out, and then it just did
We
not go
became
in that
pirates.
direction. Yeah. I had to think of something, and I was like, well, pirates is the best way.
And then we convinced your pirates. No, we intimidated them. That's right.
Yeah, you convinced the town to
Okay.
Give
that
us
was
the
only
town.
because
and then you just,
My perception of bullshit of giving us the tavern was not allowed again.
Persuasion.
Yeah, persuasion.
persuasion.
I was not allowed to persuade anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, to be completely fair, recently, in one of the games that I played with some of my family members, I played as a druid, and I would wild shape into a squirrel and run into like back rooms and just steal all their shit and stuff. Apologize.
Well, I do share your sympathy in terms of like being a DM.
Good, now you know the feeling.
Yeah, I really do because
I'm a great player.
I hate you.
I have done nothing wrong in the campaign.
You haven't. Not yet.
You know what you should do, at least as like just a one shot when you're kind of done DMing like an actual campaign. Just
Mhm.
create like a one shot story where it's just straight. They go through a dungeon and fight a big boss at the end, but make them randomize everything about their character: height, weight, gender, their starting equipment. That's what we did with my family. So I'm the only male out of all of our party,
Damn.
and I'm a half-orc druid, and so I'm just big and buff, and I intimidate everyone. But I'm also a pacifist who used to be in the army, but watched his entire
Squad.
team get killed. Yeah, his entire squad get killed, and I was like, not dealing with that anymore. I'm not gonna fight anyone, and I accidentally decapitated someone.
Oh wow.
I was trying to clothesline them. You know, when you stick your arm out and they run in and just like get knocked out. They ran into the sword end of my hand.
I feel like you should take the sword out of your hand first.
Did they roll on that one? Was that what it was?
Yeah. Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah. Well, actually, in the campaign I'm running right now, every Sunday at 7 p.m. MST, we'll be streaming starting this Sunday. Be sure to watch. The cleric is a follower of the goddess Juvia, the goddess of light and water, or whatever, life and life and water, and
Life and Agua.
yeah, it's it within their religion. They are not allowed to kill people. They're vegetarians, and all that good stuff. The first like actual NPC or like person that they fought that they killed, the pacifist killed it by accident, quote unquote. Cause like they were in a tough situation where it was only like two people confronting the main one while everyone else was like fighting the goblins, and the dude ended up falling. Like he got down to 0 HP and like with spiritual weapon. Actually, no, I think it was straight up with her what's it called? With the staff. What's it called? Quarterstaff. She killed him.
Wow.
She just felt so guilty afterwards. It was funny.
Huh.
And then you have me.
Literal
You got
demise
this,
of this group.
please.
And one thing I hate about like
Delphina likes me.
yeah, not for long. So one of the things that I absolutely hate is the cleric's perception. She has a 22, 23 perception. I can't throw anything at her. I can't. She sees it.
You like everyone else's.
Everyone else has like a 14, except for like Mouser. But we don't talk about that.
Anyways.
So yeah, hopefully you do enjoy this podcast. We will be talking about the most randomest things you just witnessed.
Courtesy of me.
Yeah. But for the most part, I didn't mention my favorite game actually. So my favorite game of all time has to be probably Dark Souls 1.
Ooh.
I absolutely hate the game. And that's
You
why
love
I
the
love
game.
it. Exactly.
I mean, that's one way to do it.
So I'm not the type of person that when I rage, I throw things or like I start hitting. No, I'm not that type of person. But Dark Souls, it's just, I don't know, man. I want to kill myself. It's bad. But I love the game. It's just like great storyline, great mechanics when they're not bullshit. But yeah. Which actually leads us into our main topic of the day, which is the gaming group
Somehow
dynamics.
Seamlessly.
It was. So we'll start off with just multiplayer in general. Do you all play multiplayer games?
Yes. Somewhat.
Okay.
I think
Like
I've played two.
almost all the time.
Okay. So do you play a game because of how it's played or because your friends play it?
Somewhat of both, because there's one that's because I enjoy the game, and then there's been a couple that it's been because my friends play it, and it's free, so.
Okay.
Well, for me, it's more of like getting into a game. It's because my friends play it. So like Apex Legends, I never really thought about playing that game a whole lot. I didn't know what it was, and then two of my friends were like, "Hey, you should download Apex Legends and play with us." And I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know how to play it. I downloaded it and I play it all the time now. However, more recently, I've been playing a lot of Dauntless. But before that, I played Monster Hunter because I wanted to get it when it first came out.
Mhm.
My older brother got it, and I just stole it from him.
I actually
I played
remember.
that for a long time.
I actually
Yeah,
remember back in high school. You were like, "Oh no, yeah!" You were so excited that the game was like coming out and all that, and you really wanted it, and you never got it.
I never got it. My older brother got it. I took his PlayStation. I started playing it, and I absolutely loved the game. And the reason why I played Dauntless is because it's almost exactly like Monster Hunter. Not like completely, but enough to where if you've played Monster Hunter, you kind of get the feel of the game.
So in
The
terms of
reason why I
mechanics and all that.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason why I like playing Dauntless just a little bit more than Monster Hunter is because when I'm playing with my friends, I don't have to wait through the like story missions until they get to the end of the game, so I can start playing like specific monsters with them.
I
In
see.
Dauntless, you get in a party, you pick a monster you want to fight, and then you go fight it. So.
I've
Yeah.
actually heard quite a bit about the game. It's been on a few sponsored videos of YouTubers I watch and whatnot. Um, I haven't played the game. Um, from what I get, it's somewhat like of an multiplayer RPG type thing.
Yeah, it's really fun, and the I think the best part about it is one, it's only 4 people in a party,
Hmm.
but it's cross-platform,
Oh,
so you can
really?
play with people on Xbox, people on PlayStation, people on computer. Yeah.
That's
Um, so sometimes me and my friends will get queued into a fight with somebody who's playing on computer. We got into one where somebody's playing on Xbox, I think,
mm-hmm.
and it shows you the little icons.
Cool. So it's sort of like the whole because I know Fortnite does it now, where you can actually cross platform play from Xbox to PC to Nintendo to mobile. I'm not entirely sure if PlayStation agreed or not, but I think they did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they did. So we've played with some people who are on Switch. One of my friends that I play with sometimes, he
Hmm.
actually plays it on his Switch and
Okay,
plays with us.
cool.
See, I have to say in regards to that, playing with someone who's like on mobile versus, playing like having people like on mobile versus like on PC or console, it kind of gives the other players an unfair advantage because with mobile they can't really aim that well. Like
Yeah,
even
that's
with
true.
aimbots, it's like actually there was a video on YouTube that I was watching and someone used a emulator to take and play CS:GO or Call of Duty uh,
Counter
several. It was
Strike.
yeah, it was Counter Strike. Counter Strike mobile. Using a computer, a mouse and keyboard. And when he was playing, you could clearly tell the players who were using the same emulator that he was, that was provided by the makers of the game, and who wasn't because of how they could aim. Because
Hmm.
for the people who were playing mobile, they could only really shoot straight and they couldn't really go up or down. Whereas the people who were taking and playing on the computer, you could actually tell because they would get all the kills. Like he once finished a match with like 95% of the kills of the team.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
He had like 43 out of 50 kills. So,
Wow, that's
yeah, that's the only like I don't mind it when it's like, all right, we're going to take and put it against all platforms, but when it's a first-person shooter game, it's like, ugh. Even third-person shooter. It's like, all right, cool, don't share it with mobile because it doesn't really make it fair.
I
well.
I think though in like Fortnite's defense, it's a little harder on console to do certain things than it is on like mobile. I'm pretty sure on mobile, I've never tried it, but I have a feeling on mobile, if you're playing Fortnite, you could build a little bit easier
You can.
because the buttons are like right there.
Yeah. So I
Whereas
know, what is it?
on console,
Oh, continue. Sorry.
oh, like on console, you have to hit different buttons and then you have to, I think it's like hit circle, and that switches to the build menu. And then you have to use the D-pad to switch through it,
Yeah,
or
that's really
like
bad.
R1 and L1. Yeah, and so it's like really, it's a lot. each different platform kind of has its own like strengths and weaknesses when in the game, to kind of balance it out and make it a little more fair.
So I have a question, and this is in terms of like mechanics for a game. Um, do you feel that a game should pertain to a certain platform because of its mechanics?
Mm, I guess it depends. Um, I mean, there are some things that would limit it going on mobile, say like size of the game and stuff, and like
Yeah.
requirements to take and play it. Because obviously, for instance, Elder Scrolls Online. No offense to any mobile players, I don't see anyone taking and being able to make that game small enough to be put on the phone because it's sitting at about almost 100 gigs at the moment.
Oh my
Hmm.
gosh.
Actually, I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah, it's a big game.
it's massive, and it's only it grows like every couple months. Like we get like a new DLC and everything.
Hmm.
Doesn't Elder Scrolls have
Um,
a mobile game?
they
I
do, but
know.
it's the card game.
No, they also
No,
added
they
a new
have.
one. They added Elder Scrolls Blades, I think it was.
Yeah, that's. I'm currently on the
Oh
I
App
yeah,
have
that's
Store.
right.
I haven't actually been able to play that one because my phone isn't good enough to take and play it. So
I
Oh,
just have not bothered to try it.
okay, I'll go ahead and download it, and I'll give you my opinion. Um, whenever I play it.
Okay.
Not right now.
yeah, I was gonna say, you gonna play
Um,
it now?
No, absolutely not.
yeah,
Unless we
just
had like
play
an
it while
ad
we're doing the
break.
stream. I don't care. Um, in regards to like the games being on specific platforms
Mhm.
because of the mechanics, I feel as though mobile kind of has like a tough time with that. It's a lot harder to make a game that fits for both mobile and console and computer. I know Minecraft is one of the big ones that comes up because you can play Minecraft on mobile, with people who are playing on their laptop or on their Xbox. Since it's all signed into your Microsoft account, you can play.
But
Um,
isn't that only if you're taking and using the Microsoft, not if you're using the Java version?
Yeah, it's the
yeah,
Bedrock
yeah, you
edition
have
that they call it.
Okay.
you have to be using the Microsoft version.
Which I don't know if you knew, Ace, but if you have a
I do have the Bedrock edition.
yeah.
I
Okay.
have I have a code in my thing that I can claim that's still active. I just haven't gotten around to activating it
I
because
I activated it simply because I thought one of my friends Bales, he he said he had it. He didn't have the Java, but I'm like, sure, why not? And we never played. And I'm like, okay, this was pointless.
yeah, I mean, what
Why
is
did I
it?
do
I've
this? It
got
doesn't
I
affect the
played
game.
it from my phone with my uncle who takes and plays it on Xbox because essentially we had three people wanting to play, and I was like,
Mhm.
all right, you guys play on the Xbox, I'm playing on my phone.
Makes sense.
And
Yeah.
that's what we did. It was actually pretty easy. The personally, I'm not very familiar with the Xbox controls because I haven't played with one much, so mobile was a little bit
The
easier than
same,
Xbox.
the
Because
same as PlayStation controls.
no, they're flop. Like the buttons, some of the buttons are flipped. That I haven't ever played.
No, they're
No,
not.
no, they're the
I've
exact
never
same.
played Minecraft on a console. I've played it on mobile and PC.
But
That's all.
I my
Okay,
my
well,
argument here is that your the whole controller thing, the only thing that switch is the D-pad and the left analog stick. That's it.
the
Yeah,
left analog stick is where the D-pad should be on a PlayStation controller. But like
it's
even then,
weird.
it's it's the same thing.
Yeah.
All the buttons are the same. Okay, anyways,
Now, okay,
I'm gonna get
depends
too
on the
upset.
game. Skyrim is not. It threw me off because they switched some of the controls from PlayStation to Xbox. And so I'd play it on PlayStation for a while, and I went to help my friend out who plays Xbox, and I kept on pressing the wrong thing.
Yeah,
Because some of the
they
buttons were
do
switched, and
they did flip a few things.
it threw me off for like, it took me like 15 minutes before I got used to it, and even then it was just weird. Because
Interesting.
Yeah,
when
because I
I went to
remember.
PlayStation, I was used to Xbox. Then. It was a mess.
Yeah, I remember on PlayStation 3 when you played Skyrim, your attack buttons were your R1 and L1
Yeah.
for PlayStation.
Yeah, they were your
On
top ones.
Xbox 360, they were the bottom ones.
Yep. That's what threw me off because every time I went to attack, I shouted.
Yeah,
And
but
so you don't know how many times I accidentally used a shout.
they fixed it with the PlayStation 4 controller, so now all of your attacks for almost every game are your bottom triggers instead of your top ones.
Bumpers.
Well, R2 and L2,
Yeah, but it's
they're
right
triggers.
trigger, right bumper.
They're all triggers.
Mm, I'm sorry, but I coded this. I coded a controller before.
Hey,
It's
hey,
right trigger, right bumper, left trigger, left bumper.
hey, hey.
What?
We're not having a conversation about what the buttons are on a controller, or
Well,
about what I call the buttons on my controller.
I'm giving you the technical names. This is all
but
mechanical
And I
based.
don't
okay,
care.
getting back on topic. That's a weird for me saying that. Like really weird.
Okay, and
In regards to like keeping like games within platforms, I mean, I personally I don't see anything wrong with having games on all platforms, except maybe mobile due to the constrictions of space.
Well, not only space, but like, can you
Well,
achieve the same thing?
yeah. I mean, maybe once, computers are or phones are like literally miniaturized computers
Well,
that have,
even,
enough RAM processing power and such to do it.
but I'm talking in terms of like players, because you can give a player a controller and they'll be able to play a bit more comfortably than if you just give them a small screen where they have to press the screen, literally blocking their
Yeah.
view.
yeah, and
I
and
mean, yeah.
a lot of it. I've played games on mobile. Call of Duty mobile, in
Oh,
my opinion, has a big problem. When you aim, you have to tap a button to aim, and if you tap and hold that same button, you'll aim and fire.
Yeah.
But you can't really move at the same time. You'll
So
stop
you're
your forward motion to aim and fire, and you can't still like move around like you can on
yeah.
console or even computer.
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
you are a little bit limited in regards to movement. Like even games that have moved from uh um mobile to PC, like to make like better versions, like like the PC version of it's completely different because they could add more stuff that they couldn't add on mobile.
Yeah.
You know, when you play like a fighter game like a slasher game on mobile, you're limited. Once you're outside the mission, you can see your character and you can move through the menus, but your character doesn't move outside of it. Whereas in the PC version of it, you can actually take and move around the towns that you're in, and you move to different towns and different areas. And you can
Mhm.
also get lost. I've gotten lost a lot.
Well, that's you. You have terrible memory.
No, I just have a terrible sense of direction.
You're terrible at everything.
Your right hand is the one on your right. If you put your finger in like L's, your index finger up and your thumb out, you can tell which side's your left side and which side's your right side.
See, I don't do
If it
that.
makes an L, that's your left side.
Okay, see, here's the problem with that. We all learned this in kindergarten. In kindergarten, I got a surgery on my left arm, on my left wrist.
I didn't learn that in
Uh-huh.
kindergarten. I learned it before I went into school.
Well, I knew my left and right, but it was more introduced like that method of doing it. Well, during the same time period, I had a surgery, and so I actually turned my wrist inwards to see my wrist because one of them has a scar, one of them doesn't. So, whenever has a scar is my left one.
That's an interesting way of denoting your
Oh,
left and
okay.
right.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
like,
that's
okay,
just
which one has the scar? The scar's like starting to fade. You're like, I can't see it as well.
No, actually, because of the way it is, because it's directly on my wrist, like the movement area, so it's constantly being tensed. So it's always like and then on top of that, I'm like slightly more tan than my scar, because my scar is actually like a really bright white.
I thought you were just white, period.
I am, but my scar's whiter.
Oh, all right.
Okay. So
It's weird.
moving along. So still sort of talking about like mechanics and sort of roles that a player fulfills. And I'll use Overwatch as an example because we were talking about this the other day. And by the other day, I mean like 2 days ago. So, do you play Overwatch, Ace?
No.
Have you played
I
it?
played it. I played it when it was like free for like the weekend.
Oh.
But yeah, that's about all I played.
Have you all played Smite?
Oh, I love Smite.
I know you do.
I think we've had this
I think I
conversation
passed the
where you
tutorial.
tried to get me, to play League of Legends, and
Yeah.
I'm like, is it Smite? And you're like, it's like Smite. I'm like, but is it Smite? And you're like, no. And I'm like, well then.
Yeah, that was one of the games I downloaded, played for a little bit, but didn't actually like get into.
Okay.
Fun fact, that one's also now cross-platform.
Yeah, I know that. It was pretty
I
good.
don't know how
That
long it's been that.
not like I play Smite anyways. It's all about the League of Legends and toxicity.
You're
Hey,
so excited about that toxicity.
it's legitimately what makes a community. Not only that, but Riot Games has actually stepped up their game. Like legitimately, Riot Games for the past like 5 years since 2014, for their like tournaments and all that, they get people to like they write songs and then they get like, for example, Imagine Dragons. The last 2 years they've gotten Seon from
yeah.
G Idol. They got Becky G, Kiki Palmer, some other people like just to perform this. Like they've been stepping up their game. It's all like, whoa, y'all want to make that real money, huh?
I mean,
I want to get
yeah,
good so I can make
though
that
I
real
still have to
gamer
say
money.
a lot of the community songs are still pretty awesome. Like we can't take that away.
Yeah. Anyways, back to what
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Tangents.
Yes. Um.
Fun tangent.
So, in a game, what role do you usually find yourself feeling? Like for me, as an example, in League of Legends, I've been maining support. Like I want to support carry the team.
See, in recent years, I've been doing more heals and tanks, and that's purely because um, if I do DPS, it's gonna, a lot of the times, I'm looking up for a dungeon or something, and even though they fixed the mechanic of the dungeon finder, it is still a pain in the ass to find a group if you're a DPS than if you're a healer. I queue up for a dungeon in DPS with a DPS. It's gonna take me about a couple minutes, if not longer, depending on how many people are on. For a healer or a tank, maybe a couple seconds.
Yep.
Like, there's been times where I've like literally queued up and immediately gotten one as a healer or a tank.
King, you were gonna say?
The game that I use as examples the most when talking about this is Overwatch. Not the most recent, but one of the most recent updates for Overwatch. They switched the queuing option for quick. They used to have it where you'd queue up just for a quick play match, and then you'd have access to all the characters and all the classes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Ranked, ranked queue. You'd queue up for specific
Roles.
classes, and then or specific roles, yeah, and you would only get to play as those characters. And they'd have it so, they give you an estimate of how long it's going to take. If you were queuing up for tank or support, it would take at most 2 minutes. If you're queuing up for the damage class, the damage role, which has the most characters in Overwatch, it would take about 6 to 7 minutes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and so because they added the roles queue for quick play, it's the same amount of time. I find myself I love playing support. I play support in uh anything. But in Overwatch specifically, I'll queue up for support because it's a little bit faster than queuing up for tank. Not a whole lot of people want to play support.
Yeah.
And that's, going on the whole like specific thing. League of Legends has in their original game 3 game modes. It was blind it was blind pick, which you would just go in there, pick whatever character you want, go whatever lane you want, screw the team type of situation. In terms of there was another one where it was draft pick. On that one, you would actually go ahead and you would queue up for 2 roles. It would be your main role and then your secondary role.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also an option for fill. So Phil took up both your options, saying, like, I don't care what I go, just put me in a game.
Okay.
And after a while, I actually, because like I wasn't playing draft for that much. I usually just played blind and all that because I didn't want to deal with the wait time. Because if you play a blind, you're gonna find a match much faster. If you go to the draft option, takes a while. And I noticed that after you get like placed in the main or secondary role that you want for like 2-3 games straight, you get automatic autofill. So no matter what roles you go for, there is a chance that you will get placed in another role because you sort of, don't play anything else.
Right.
Do you
Trying
like
to diversify you.
Yeah. Do you feel that's a punishment? Like
No,
a
I don't.
mechanic like that?
No, I think that people will view it as a punishment, like, oh, I'm playing as this specific role too much, and the game's trying to punish me for not playing as anything else. But I think it's a good idea having a game force you to fill different roles, so you kind of get an understanding of how difficult it might be. Because there's a lot of people that'll be like, oh, our support isn't doing anything, but that's not always the case. The support just is having trouble doing all the things that specific people are requiring or they think are requiring them to do.
Yeah.
And so being auto-filled into a support role, it's kind of like, oh, I get how hard this is now. Or,
Yeah, like
maybe they find their new main,
Yeah.
what kind
speaking
of
of
role
that, I
they'll
had
queue up for next.
made a character in ESO, or Elder Scrolls Online, but we call it ESO. And I
don't.
had made a healer, and I had never realized how hard it is to keep those DPSs alive, because for some reason, the majority of them think that they are a tank.
It's like in Overwatch, my support main is Mercy.
Oh wow.
It is so hard to keep everyone happy in one game because sometimes you'll get queued up in a game, and I don't I don't like being toxic or being like really upset, but sometimes the second support that's on your team is not competent enough to go out and manage half the other team.
Yeah.
And so as a mercy main, I run around and I have to keep the
You,
2 tanks alive that are on 2 opposite sides of the map while managing to keep myself alive. And I had to remap my controller so that I wasn't using the D-pad to switch between my staff and my gun. Now
oh
I hit
wow.
R3.
Oh wow.
So
Smart.
yeah, it
So
was just so that way I could keep both people alive.
see, this is why I play Moira. Simply because at any point if I see that my team is just like dumb and that they're incapable of working as a team, I just do the work myself.
I know.
Um,
I'm that
Speaking of
type of
what
support.
someone typed in chat. So you all know how, for most games, you can somewhat, depending on the game, you can somewhat see the area where the enemy's attacking.
I've played Final Fantasy
Mhm.
14 because of Aaron, yes.
So in ESO, there's red zones. The red zones are the places where enemy attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Your tank and your healer will get out of your red zones. Your DPS don't. They seem to think that is the area you're supposed to be in. There has been times where I have intentionally stopped healing DPSs because I'm like, all right, if you're not going to stay within my range of healing, I'm not healing you. Like, if
Right.
you intentionally are outside of the area that I am trying to heal you at, and you are the only one, and if I go to where you're at, the other ones are, I don't give a fuck about you anymore. You're done.
You know what? What you just said segues perfectly. You're toxic.
Just straight up, you're a toxic person.
I thought we already established this.
I know, but like I said, it's a good segue. Calling
I
you a
mean-
toxic person.
I mean, a lot of healer mains, like, depending, like, I'll try and heal everyone, but if you're intentionally going to make it so I can't heal you, then it's like, all right, I'm focusing on the people that I need to keep on healed. I mainly will focus on the tank because, no offense, they're taking about 10 to 20 times the damage that you are.
Yeah, they're
So I'm
tanking
going to make
all
sure
the
they're
damage.
alive. And if, most of the time with SO, you want to kind of keep a tight group, with the exception of like 1 or 2 bosses, but those are like really few rare. It's like 1 or 2 dungeons that they're exclusive to. But for the most part, you want to stay close together. And if it's like, say, you run ahead of the party, I can't help you if you're like literally in the next area. If we're still fighting one boss.
Yeah, you can if you were competent enough.
If we're fighting one boss and they start another boss completely in the other direction that you have to go through a door through, no, I can't.
Yeah, you can. You just have to be more competent.
Not with that attitude.
See, anything is possible so long as you make it happen.
Yeah, you gotta have the right mindset,
And you do not have any good mindset.
I'll be honest, my default personality is I'm a bitch.
Yeah, we already know that.
Going back to Overwatch, I do understand exactly how that feels. I'll have a Reaper on one side of the field, and then the Diva Roadhog that I have to focus on this side of the field, and it's hard to choose. Like, do I go save the Reaper, or do I stay on the tank that I'm trying to protect over here? And sometimes they'll get on mic and they'll just be like, the Mercy's not doing anything, or our support players aren't doing anything, they're not healing us. And then it's like, well, we're just not healing you.
Yeah, that's honestly the biggest problem of playing a support, as sometimes if they decide to spread out too far, you have to decide who you're healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, are you going to heal the person that's important to keeping the group alive? Or are you going to heal the person that's refusing to stay in your area of healing?
You see, I'm going to go ahead and use League of Legends as the example here. I know we each have like our own little game that we're like play a lot and we're good at or whatever.
Examples.
Yeah. But for the most part, we're doing a good job of explaining things. Bravo, guys. So, in League of Legends, there's 5 roles: top, mid, jungle, ADC, and support. And for whatever reason, ADC and support are paired up in the bottom lane. So I've run into an issue where I'm playing support, and I go bottom lane with my ADC, whatever, and they are overextending, diving under towers, and just like running into the enemy team.
Really stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we pause for just 1 second, and can you explain what ADC means?
ADC means AD carry. Essentially, AD carry is your DPS of the group.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
So your mid lane and your AD carry are supposed to be like your DPS, the ones that do a lot of damage, along with your jungle. But jungle's a bit more diverse, that they sort of help everyone become more powerful by ganking their lanes. Essentially just going into their lane and getting them a kill, or the jungle getting a kill. They're supposed to do all the damage. Top lane is usually
I know that.
Top lane is usually your tank.
Okay.
And then your support, well, you support. However, since League of Legends has over 100 characters, you run into an issue where a support might not heal. They might just, give you shields or stun the enemy or something,
buff you. or
Yeah,
yeah, stun or yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
things of that nature. Um, and before a match, you sort of like type in chat like, "Hey, yo, like, do you have any preference of like what you want me to do, whatever?" And then they tell you to pick something you don't have, and you're like, "I'm gonna do this," and then they get extremely mad at you, and then in game, they're just like calling out every single little thing that you're doing wrong, and by what I mean when I say you're doing wrong is you're not helping them out when they're being stupid.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
there's a lot of toxicity towards anyone who's like falling behind. But if
Hmm.
it's the ADC blames it on the support always.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that always seems to be how it is in games. If a DPS is, not doing very well, they blame it on either the healer or support.
Now,
Hmm.
you both sort of went over this, but do you feel that the support should listen to that and assist them, or should they be like, what, I'm gonna go help out the team that is doing far better than you are?
I
It
think it depends
it
on
really
the
depends on,
team comp right at the
yeah.
moment.
So say like your team's doing really well and you feel like you can leave them alone for a little bit and they're not going to die immediately while you go help the other one. All right. But there are
But
times where it's like
you leave immediately, and then the
you
rest
leave
of your
you
team just dies,
yeah.
Well,
There's
no.
been
and
times
you're like, I can't leave you alone for one
yeah.
second.
I mean, there's been times where I've like gotten a match and for like a dungeon and so with ESO you can actually, you can switch between one doing I have mine where I switch between healing and attack. There was one where I did not have to heal a single person in that party. So I flat out we had one tank and three DPS that all managed to heal themselves. Like no one needed healing. So we ran through that dungeon really fucking quick cuz no one was dying. It was great. And I think like the only places that needed healing was like the actual bosses instead of like some where it's like I stop healing you for 1 second and you die.
Well, see, that's the downside of games like Smite and League of Legends, the MOBA type, where once you go into a game, you picked your character. Period.
Yeah.
Overwatch, you have a little bit of leniency where like you can change between
You
different
can,
characters, but within a
yeah, but
class.
Yeah.
well, now it's within a class. They
Yeah.
still have the option if you go into arcade mode. You still have the option to do the classic quick play,
Hmm.
which I think is fun. I like doing that every once in a while because it does give me the option to play as whoever you want. But then you still get into those team comps where you're a team of full DPS and like maybe a tank, and nobody's playing support. Everyone's dying.
Well, that seems to
So
be like the main problem. Everyone likes playing DPS, no one likes playing support or tank.
I think it's the mindset of like Call of Duty. It's your KD ratio matters. That's what everyone brings up. Is if you're playing support, it's like, well, you didn't really do anything. I have 20 assists. Yeah, but how many kills do you have? How many deaths did you get? Like, what's that
Yeah.
number? And it's like nobody really wants to help.
See,
Nobody likes the idea of assisting someone in a kill. They want the kill.
Yeah.
they introduced a PvP in Elder Scrolls, and I like the way they did it because you can actually get rewards for healing. So like you can get like whoever does the most healing, you could actually, I was a healer one time and I got the highest score out of anyone for the pure amount of fucking healing I did. And
Yeah.
the amount of supports I did. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's not fair." And I'm like, "Did you see how often you guys were almost dying? You lived, right?"
Yeah, like in Overwatch at the end of the match it shows you the end cards, which are like people that did the coolest stuff. So sometimes you'll get somebody who's on the objective the longest out of both teams,
Yeah.
or I think it's out of just their specific team. Um, and then once that screen passes, you get all the medals, which tells you how good you did compared to the rest of your team.
Hmm.
And the medal that I always look for, the medal that always makes me the happiest out of all of them, is healing done.
Yeah.
Same.
If I get gold in healing done, I think it doesn't matter if I won or lost. Like I can be salty if I lost. I could be like really upset because we were right there. We were
Or like
like
you were like
two
just a
seconds.
hair smidge away from
Yeah,
winning.
if it was just 10 seconds longer, we would have won. And I'm a little salty because it should have been our victory.
Yeah.
But I see at the end I have golden healing done. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I'm a little bit happier.
A little bit, not too much, but a little bit.
Not
Yeah,
too
like
much,
I'm
but a
not
little
like
bit.
really happy.
However, I
But
think I'll get upset when I have like silver and healing done. The other support wasn't healing at all, and one of our damage dealers was self healing the entire time.
yeah.
When you're playing with a roadhog and they're just like healing themselves
They're just
over and over and
spamming their
over.
self healing, and you're like, well,
See, that's kind of how my tank rolls is. Because so yes, majority of it's keeping the enemies off of everyone else, but a lot of the stuff after I've taunted them is self heal. So there was one time I was tanking and I got like the most healing done, and our healer was super salty about that. Because it's always like
I
one of
think
those
it's
things of it's like it's one of those things that healers think, all right, I've done the most healing, and then you realize, no, I haven't. That person self healed them.
you're like 100 points away, and you're like, how? Why?
No, okay. So the necromancer in the game has like this broken ability where one of its ultimates it gives you 40,000 health, but at the same time it
Excuse me,
heals
what's the fuck's the max?
So about standard for a healer is about 30,000.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, about standard for a tank is about 30,000. Most of them are going to be about 20,000. You start off with 10,000. So it just depends on what most of your tank stuff is
Numbers are
based
really
on doing
weird.
your healing.
They really are.
Well, yeah. But there's this one skill where essentially you turn into like a giant bone golem. It's called Bone Colossus. So you turn into a Bone Colossus, and it obviously makes your character bigger and changes how your character looks, but also gives you 40,000 health. Well, at the same time, it also heals that 40,000 health. So say I'm in a PvP match and I use that multiple times.
You
It's
use
an
it
ultimate,
like
so I hope you don't.
right.
So there's the thing. I'm also a vampire. Vampires have an ability where you can drain essence in combat, but you can convert it from doing majority healing to giving you part to your ultimate. So
Wow.
by using that, I can take and recharge my ultimate faster.
That's cool.
That's just rude.
It is.
That is
No.
mean.
What's even ruder is my ultimate also has this thing called Aura of Death. So it gives me like this little ring that does area damage on. So if you're in that area, you automatically like take like I think it's like 4,000 damage per second.
I don't want to play with her anymore.
See, this is why I don't own ESO or however the hell you say it.
So
SO, sorry.
honestly, when you first said it, when you said it the first time, I thought it was spelled S and O, and I was like, "What game are you talking about?" And then you said Elder Scrolls Online every once in a while, and I'm like, "Oh,
Well,
so now you're talking about Elder Scrolls
yeah.
Online, but
So,
what the
I
heck
mean,
is
if you
SO?" And then you
Yeah.
explained it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"It's ESO."
Right?
Yes,
It is ESO.
But what's easier to say, ESO or SO?
It's because like
because of the way that you
okay,
pronounce
so
the E.
so I'm so because I know Spanish, eso it means that. So that's why I got confused when you first said it. I was like, "What, that?"
What game is that?
But,
I started
yeah, no.
questioning like, "You learned Spanish?"
Actually, if you do
Oh,
get
what?
because I know what is it. I currently was doing a white gold tower for a set of armor. It was specifically for a set of tanking armor, and it gives you really good health stats. So with the combination of good health stat or good gear, and you can also use food and drinks to increase your health.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like in Monster Hunter.
yeah, so you can use that, and just with that alone, without using the ultimate ability, you can get upwards of 50,000 health if you're really dedicated in getting your health.
Interesting.
But usually I do like a mix of everything. That way I can at least, spam my abilities.
Okay,
Yeah.
now you're just rude. It goes to show what type of player you are.
She
I
she
mean,
is the
I built my
epitome of
vampire deck
toxic.
in Magic.
She's the epitome of what?
Toxic.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I thought Yasuo players were bad.
I don't know what that
Okay,
means.
you don't
It's a league
understand.
joke.
Most of the
Oh,
time,
okay.
most of the time in an ESO, you don't really have a lot of PvP. It's mainly PvE. So,
What's PvE?
player versus enemy.
I'm kidding.
Engine.
Oh yeah, player versus everyone. But
Engine.
their engine, whatever.
No, it's not whatever.
It matters. Because if you
But
say player versus everyone,
That
people aren't going to know
includes
what everyone
players.
means.
yeah,
That
Uh-huh.
includes
If you say
players.
PvP, that's player versus player.
yeah.
That's easy. But
But
PvE is player versus engine.
like honestly, I don't do a lot of PvP just because I don't like it.
No, because you suck at it.
You're not wrong.
That too.
That too, but it's just
That's
I
not the
don't
main reason,
fun
but
out
it's
of it
a
from
reason.
doing that than I do dungeons, because when I do dungeons, I can get really cool loot. It's fun to see what I get. Whereas with PvP, it just this is alright, but I don't get anything out of it. So
You get bragging rights.
I
Sure.
mean, cool if
It's-
you want a title, but I don't really care about titles. I'm here
I
to have fun half the time.
don't care about anything.
So, unfortunately, we're winding down on time, and that's gonna have to wrap up for today. Hopefully, everyone watching did enjoy. Hopefully, you two enjoyed being here and suffering.
How long were we on this?
Okay, Keegan, that's because I'm not toxic.
It's
That's bad.
been
You are toxic.
it's been about an hour almost.
Seriously?
Yeah. Time flies when
Wait,
you're having fun.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
I could do it
I
for,
have a
like, another
question before we stop.
hour.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have a question before we stop. So, Derek, you play League, and Amy plays ESO. So what? Just so we can start, just so we can talk more about how toxic we all can be. What is your most toxic build ever?
Oh.
I think Amy covered hers.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not the most toxic. That's just my favorite build. The most toxic would be a Dragon Knight, because they have shielding abilities, so you can solo an entire group of PvP.
Wow.
Needless to say, it gets a little broken and it's not really fun to play. Because
Well,
then you go in and you curb stomp everyone.
so in terms of the most toxic build, I would probably have to say, it involves a specific character, because you can't pull it off with everyone. So,
Right.
when I tend to play support, I usually play Sona. She is her abilities, she has 4 abilities. Her Q, and this is based off the keyboard. Q, it amplifies magic damage for like 2-3 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and basically on your next auto attack, you do a little bit of extra magic damage.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, the W, is healing. So it heals the nearest player other than yourself. So you get healed, and then an extra player gets healed, and then anyone within the circular pattern that she creates around herself gets a shield.
Okay.
Her E gives her and anyone within the circular pattern that she creates near herself movement speed for like 4 seconds, I think, something like that. It scales. And then her ultimate, she shoots out a sort of like a beam in front of her that whoever is any enemy that is caught in it is stunned, and they begin to dance, because she's a music origined
Okay.
character.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
So
I was about to say dance. That doesn't make
yeah,
sense.
it's just like a cool little thing where like it's a stun essentially, but they just dance for flavor because everyone else's stun just stuns them. They can't move it or anything. This is just a little bit extra.
Alright.
So you're supposed to build support on her. Usually like building items that help you regain mana faster. Excuse me, and just like support the team overall with vision on the map and whatever, right? So I one day I saw a video saying build ability power, and that's like essentially your magic power. And her abilities scale off of magic power. So I just went a full build where I build nothing but ability power. And I took the tank down in 3 Qs.
What?
Wow.
So
Wow.
she has this little extra feature. Her passive ability. So every fourth chord is an empowered chord. So you cast 3 abilities, and the next ability, whether it be a Q, a W, or an E, that auto attack is gonna be empowered, meaning you're gonna do a lot more damage, and it scales with your ability power.
So, say if you did it like a
Huh.
heal, you do a lot more healing.
Exactly.
Okay.
But
That's
I
crazy.
I decided to say, you know what? Ability power. And I took the 80 carry, for example, and 80 carries usually don't get above 2,500 health.
Mhm.
So what I usually do is I go in with movement speed, I heal, I Q to do the extra damage, I ult them, so they're stunned, I heal myself,
Mhm.
and then I give myself speed because I've also built a bunch of cooldown, so I can just cast these things nonstop, and then I
Right.
empower Q again, and they die. So the ult also does damage. So basically, 2 Qs and an ult kills an ADC. No
Okay.
sweat.
Wow.
And I've carried a game before where I went 17-0 and 5 assists
Oh, well then.
with
Wow.
just an AP Sona. How about you, King? What has been your most toxic build?
Um, the most toxic build I've made so far. I'm working on one. And I play Smite, so it's for Freya, and I want to just buff her with a bunch of magic damage. But I haven't quite gotten it down yet, so I need to work on that. But the most toxic one that I think I have, it takes a while for me to get there. I don't use relics or consumables at all in my build. I'll sometimes use the blink relic if I need to get away,
Mm-hmm.
which just allows you to move a certain amount. It kind of like instant teleports you to that spot and just helps you get away. But the my main god that I play as is Kyrinos,
Mm.
and he's got his first ability is called Shifter of Seasons or something like that. He shifts through the 4 seasons, and each one does a different ability. So the spring season gives you bonus life steal. The summer season deals bonus damage. The fall season debuffs for 5 seconds, and the winter season slows for 1 second. And I have 2 separate builds for him. The first one is I focus on attack speed and crit damage. And one of the items that I have makes it so every time I crit, my attack speed and movement speed is increased by 15%. And it stacks. Up to, I think it's like, uh, it it stacks, and each time it's like plus 2% on top of that. And I think it only stacks until you get to about 20, I think. Um, and I'll focus on the shifter season. I'll focus on the season of spring to heal me when I get damaged. And after about level 12, halfway into my build, I'm able to solo a tank by myself.
Oh wow.
I take a lot of damage, but I can solo a tank by myself.
That's
The
pretty cool.
it's
Actually,
it's
I have a
brutal.
question on this. in regards to this. Have you ever guys had something that, was really powerful, but then they nerfed it?
No.
Yes.
Okay, King, what'd you have?
There used to be an item in Smite. I think it was called the Gem of Isolation or something. And it
Mhm.
used to do a lot of slow damage, and like, uh, it used to do a lot of slow. But they nerfed it to where it doesn't do as much, and they increased the price of it. So
Okay.
it's not worth it unless you farm gold, which you just run around and kill minions a whole bunch. Or if you're playing one of the other modes, you farm the Gold Fury,
Yeah, I
which
think.
isn't really worth it if you're trying to get
Yeah.
farther into the build.
All right.
But the other half of my Kyrnos build is I focus on the slow part, the like slow mechanic, and so I just stack him with a bunch of abilities that debuff my enemies, and most of them are aura abilities. So when they're around me, their attack speed's lower. I have a couple of items that decrease the rate of attack and the damage that the towers do. And that's if I want to go tower dive. And then I use winter the most, so when I hit them, they get slowed. They can't run away as fast, so I just constantly hit them.
Yeah.
And then his second ability, so that's his square. His triangle ability is no, that's the ultimate. His X ability is a bramble patch. It's his line attack. So he throws like this, basically a tumbleweed. He throws it, and it makes this huge circle of like roots, and they get stuck. If it hits a god right, like directly, they get stunned,
Okay.
and then it deals like a certain amount of damage every zero point 0.5 seconds for 5 seconds.
Oh wow.
So if they're stuck in there, they take a lot of damage. And then
Yeah.
his circle ability is his dash ability,
Uh huh.
and I mostly use that to get away, but sometimes I'll use it to close the gap if the person that I'm fighting is focusing on movement speed. So, um, but if I run into them, they take damage. And then his ultimate, I don't use as much, but I'll sometimes use it if I'm being chased. And it's an area of effect, and it has a certain amount of time before it goes off. And any god inside that area, when it goes off, they get turned into a boar. They can't attack, they can't move, like they can't control their movements, and they're stuck in that state for I think it's like 3 seconds.
That almost
But
reminds me of like the fear, because that's like the
yeah,
only thing you can't stop is like you run away automatically, but at the same time you
uh,
can still be attacked.
yeah, they take bonus damage while as a boar. So sometimes if I'm feeling like real cocky, I'll go and I'll drop my ult while they're running towards me. By the time they get right to the end of that little radius, they'll turn into a boar and I'll just start smacking. But I think it just depends on what game mode I'm playing, what my team needs, how many times I've died, depending on which build I decide to go down.
Wow, interesting. So we're all toxic.
We
I
have
mean,
toxic parts of us, but
okay,
we're not.
if you want to
I'm
talk
not
about
toxic.
toxic,
We're not ace toxic.
okay,
We're
no,
not ace
there was
toxic.
there was something I'd
We're
heard
running
about.
out of time. Hurry up.
Okay, I'll finish it real quick. So in ESO, there was a bow skill that essentially you used it and it stacked. It essentially was a thing where you used it and your next shot was more powerful. Well, it stacked. They forgot to put a cap on it.
Wow.
So people would be going around, in dungeons and stuff or in PvP. They'd just be stacking that ability. And then they'd get to a boss and they'd shoot it and instantly die.
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow.
I personally, I'm kind of sad I never got to use that. But
Good.
I've seen it been used and it's broken as fuck.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
It was nerfed within like, I think it took about a month before the developers of ESO actually started realizing, oh shit, this is happening. And then I think that like they maxed like the amount of times you could do it before it stops doing anything to like 20 or 30.
Interesting.
But used to have people do it for like 100, like almost 1,000. It would just one shot any boss.
Alrighty then. So this is all the time we have. Unfortunately, we could go on, but we are going to be live again. Not next Friday, but the week after that.
Following Friday.
So we're going to stream Life Strats every other Friday here on twitch.tv/OCDA_live. And if you do want updates on that, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and the YouTubes as well, which is where this will be uploaded if you're not watching live. So yeah, we will post updates. We are gonna stream other days. For example, the D&D that I mentioned, that's every Sunday at 7 p.m. MST, starting this Sunday.
But you'll see me there.
The
You
17th.
won't see me there though.
Yeah, the 17th of November. And if you do want to be part of the community and chat with us and whatnot, we do have a Discord. It will be in the description of the Twitch or the YouTube video that you are currently watching. So be sure to follow us, join, do all that good stuff. Other than that, is there anything else you all want to say?
Death comes for you all.
Okay, bit dramatic.
Fun fact, in case people don't play Smite, in case people don't play Smite and they don't know, if you do watch the Rooster Teeth original show Ruby, they do have special skins in Smite for specific gods based on the Ruby characters, and they got some of the voice actors for Ruby to do announcer pass. So it's kind of cool, and I wish I had it, but I don't.
Alrighty then. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, y'all.